Back in August of 2020, I made a video showing my most valuable Disney pins, and in that video I said it'd be nice in like a year from now to kind of check back in and see what things are like, because pin values can change all the time. Now, it has been more than a year since that point. I had chronic health issues and then finishing a dissertation and now working a full-time job. But today we are doing that long-awaited update to that video and checking back in and seeing what my most valuable Disney pins are. I will link to that original video here. So we'll see kind of what pins, if any, stayed on the list, new ones to join. Obviously, there are new pins, ones that did not exist at that time. But like always, pin values really change a lot over time. They're not really dependent entirely on how rare the pin is. As I always say, you could have like a super rare LE300 pin and an LE2000 pin is way more valuable than it. It's all about how much somebody is willing to pay for a pin, and the best way to determine a pin value is by looking at eBay sold listings. You really want to look at the sold listings because that is telling you exactly how much somebody has and is willing to pay for a pin. The next best thing is to look at the eBay active listings, although anybody can list a pin at eBay for any price, and that doesn't necessarily mean that's how much the pin is worth, unless you see quite a number of pins also listed there at that price. So here we're going to go through and show the pins that are the most valuable ones in my collection, kind of grouped a little bit based on the collections that I have them within, but I will be sure to finish up with my most overall valuable expensive pins. So we're starting off with some of the most valuable Zootopia pins, and this was not really one I was expecting to end up on the list, but this is a Disney Studio Store Hollywood Assistant Mayor Bellwether Villain Cutie. This pin is a limited edition of 300. It doesn't have sold listings on eBay, but it does have an active sale listing for $190. Now, this pin is so valuable not because it's Zootopia or because it's a character, but it's because this specific cutie and villain series from the Disney Studio Store Hollywood has become super popular, really highly desired, and therefore pretty valuable. So we'll see how long this cutie series can hold their value for. Next, another Zootopia pin from the Disney Studio Store Hollywood, we have the Zootopia Beloved Tales pin. This pin as well is a limited edition of 300. It does have two sold listings on eBay. However, they're vastly different. One sold in auction for $68 and another one sold for $185. There's currently a sale listing for $200. So this is quite widely variable. I'd probably put an intermediate value of around $150 on this one. Because this is a Beloved Tales pin, this is a series that really has kind of consistent popularity and high value. The thing that does bring down the value is if there are counterfeits or scrappers that come out of this series, which I have seen for this one, which could account for the low end of the sales. But Beloved Tales holds strong and valuable. We've gotten yet another Zootopia pin from Disney Studio Store Hollywood, and this is the Nick Wilde Pin Trader Delight. Like the others, this one is a limited edition of 300, and this currently just has a sale listing and it's listed at about $180. The Nick Wilde PTD historically used to be much more valuable, so its value has kind of slid down and has now stabilized over time. So the actual value of this probably sits in the $150 range. Then there's one more Zootopia pin that falls on the list, and this is a Walt Disney Imagineering film strip pin. This is a limited edition of 250 commemorating Zootopia's 5th anniversary. It has no sold listings, but it's currently listed for sale at around $125. So that probably gives it a solid value of about at least $100. So I have a lot of other Zootopia pins, but these are really the only ones that come up on kind of like eBay listings or eBay sold that have values of over $100 at the moment. Next, we move on to the valuable Emperor's New Groove pins, and we'll just say right now that all of these Emperor New Groove pins are Walt Disney Imagineering pins. Some of these pins are again familiar from the last video, and you'll kind of see the pattern that WDI and also the Disney Studio Store Hollywood pins tend to hold their value the most. This one here is the Yzma as a Cat Gold Profile. It's a limited edition of 300. No sold listings, but there's currently a listing for sale for $285. So that means I'd probably solidly put its value at about $250. Then, of course, still on the list, we have the Yzma Villain Profile Pin. This is a limited edition of 250. No sold listings on eBay, but the for sales are listed between $550 and $600. I bring this up whenever I talk about profiles. I got this Yzma pin for around $35 or $40 when it released. So it's pretty wild that this still has a value of around over $500. Next here, we have this Yzma and Kronk WDI Villain Sidekick pin. This one is a limited edition of 300, and it currently has sold values in between $112 and $165. These values definitely dipped a bit over time, but they now seem to be kind of creeping up a bit, stabilizing to like over $100. Just like for Zootopia, I also have the Emperor's New Groove Anniversary Film Strip pin. This pin is a limited edition of 250. No sold ones on eBay, but there is one listed for sale at around $140. So I'd probably say the value of this one and the Zootopia film strip are pretty similar. And then we have this pin, which it definitely seems like the value stays strong and goes up over time, and this is the Yzma Catnap pin. This pin is an LE of 300. It has sold for $350, and all the for sale listings are around $400. So let's just say I'm happy I got this right when it released, because there is no way I would be able to afford it at its current value. Moving on to some single pins from other collections. If I showed my Yzma villain profile, that of course means that the Medusa villain profile also has to appear on this list. This is a WDI limited edition of 250, no sold listings, but it's currently for sale on eBay for $450. You know, I wasn't really sure how the profile values would hold over time because there was such a crazy sharp peak in the hype over these. I thought it would just kind of have to die down, but the WDI profile values just really stay strong and really high. Next, we have a pin that is relatively a very new release and also comparatively a very high limited edition size. This is the Fantasyland Castle poster from the monthly Disneyland poster pin series. This is a limited edition of 2,000, and it's currently sold on eBay for between $160 to $180. This is why I always say if you're even debating collecting a monthly pin series, always get the first month's pin that's being released, because that one is definitely going to become the most valuable one, because people later on realize they want to collect it and then everybody ends up wanting it. So even a park pin that is an LE 2000 can have a value of like $175. Then we have this pin here, which is actually a jumbo pin with 3 accompanying tiny pins, is the Mickey Wanna Pin Trade pin from the Celebrating 20 Years of Pin Trading pin event. This pin is a limited edition of 500. I was able to get it directly from the pin event through the random selection process, but on eBay, there's one currently for sale for about $195. So this pin definitely became one of the most highly desired and valuable pins after that event. Also making the cut for my most valuable pins is my Mickey Geode pin. So this is the frame set that I did have to break apart so that I could wear the pin for my dissertation, because other ones have resurfaced for sale and they have been selling for very high amounts. There is a sold listing on eBay for this pin for $165. I got this entire framed set years ago for like $100 shipped. So I'm really happy that I got this whole set then, because this one singular pin has just continued to increase in value. One pin I was very surprised to be including on this list is just this regular Mickey Open Edition pin from Disneyland Paris. So this is a Mickey head kind of done in a sugar skull style, a little bit of Dia de los Muertos. Like I said, this is just an open edition pin from Disneyland Paris. However, the only eBay listing for this that I could find was listed at $210. And I did also see somebody in the Facebook groups selling one for $115. So it's really surprising when pins that are technically open editions can become so highly desired and valued. If anybody has any insight on like how and when this pin became so valuable, I'd love to know. But similar pins that are also on the list are this limited edition Minnie and Mickey pin from Disneyland Paris. These pins are each a limited edition of 500. They're from a Disneyland Paris pin trading day, where obviously they're done in a Dia de los Muertos style. I could not find any listings for the Minnie and Mickey ones on eBay, but I did see sold listings for the Stitch, for $450 and the Marie sold for $550. Now, those are typically much more popular characters than Minnie and Mickey, so I don't think Minnie and Mickey could fetch those values. But pins from this set have kind of become expensive as WDI profiles, so I couldn't find any listings for these actual ones, but I'd have to guess their value is at least in the range of $150 to $200. And yes, we are finishing this video with some of my Splash Mountain pins, which remain some of my most valuable Disney pins. I did my original video in 2020 kind of inspired by the fact that the price of Splash Mountain pins shot up overnight when they announced that they were going to be retheming it to Princess and the Frog. However, it now has been like 2 years since that initial announcement. There's only been like one update where they interviewed the lead Imagineer, and since then there has been absolutely zero word on anything relating to the Splash Mountain refurb. But regardless, a lot of the pins are still holding very, very strong in their values. So we'll start off on the low end of the spectrum with the pins that are closer to $100 in value. And we have this Splash Mountain 25th anniversary pin. This pin was released in the Disney parks. It is a limited edition of 1,500 and it's currently been sold on eBay for $100. I then have this other Splash Mountain 30th anniversary pin. This one was also released in the parks, also a limited edition of 1,500, and it sold for up to $165 on eBay. I do also have some other limited edition Splash anniversary pins that I didn't see any listings for on eBay, so I'm gonna guess their value is also similar in like the $100 to $150 range. Then we have these two Piece of History pins, which like the value range of these is potentially wild. So first we have this Showboat Dancer Piece of History pin. This is from Disneyland, a limited edition of 1,000. There's one that sold for about $370, and the current for sale listings are in between $600 and $750. Then we have this Brer Fox Piece of History pin. This is also from Disneyland. This one is a limited edition of 1,500. I didn't see any sold listings, but the first sale listings I saw were in between $850 and $1,100. So this is where like you can list a pin on eBay for any amount you want, but does that mean people are really gonna pay over $1,000 for this one? I don't think so. I think our one sold value of about $375 is a little bit closer for the value of these pins. So we could say like $400 for each. And then we have some of the Walt Disney Imagineering Splash Mountain pins. The WDI splash pins are really the ones that have held consistently high values. This one here is a logo pin from Splash's 30th anniversary. It is a limited edition of 250, and these have sold on eBay for between $350 and $500. So if you wanted this pin, it would probably cost you about $400. And then even more expensive than that, we have the WDI stained glass gold frame. This is from Disneyland's Diamond Celebration. It is a limited edition of 300, and this has sold on eBay for $600. So these pins are still so in demand that people are willing to pay that much for them. Now, although there are absolutely zero eBay listings at all for this pin, I know, like pretty much hands down, this is my most valuable Disney pin. This is the Splash Mountain Jumbo e-ticket pin. 3 layers, has a slider, and is a limited edition of 500. The fact that there are none for sale on eBay shows that they really aren't getting put out into circulation. They're kind of staying in collections. But based on the fact that the WDI gold frame sold for $600, I would have to estimate this current value is probably about $800 to $1,000. Which is a lot more than I paid for this. I do also have some other splash pins that I didn't see any listings for on eBay. Those would probably end up falling somewhere in the $100 to $200 range. I'm kind of surprised that these pin values have held so high for like 2 years, especially given that they've changed nothing with Splash Mountain yet. The only thing they've done is finally stopped selling merch with the Brer characters on them in the parks. After just writing Splash recently, it's like really clear that they really need to get on and like update that to Princess and the Frog. So they better be announcing something regarding that at the D23 Expo this year, but by their complete, like, total silence and lack of any updates on the project, I don't think that Splash is getting its retheme done anytime soon. Like, I'd imagine they're gonna keep it open at Disney World throughout the whole rest of their 18-month-long 50th anniversary celebration. So I was thinking, like, by this point there should have been like some word on like what's going on with Splash, but there just hasn't been any. But the pin values have stayed really high still, so people are still really into collecting them. Even though absolutely nothing has changed with the ride, it hasn't gone away, there's been no dates or anything yet. Although I am very much looking forward to the day when they finally release some details about the Princess and the Frog retheming. So there you go, that was the extra kind of delayed updated look on my most valuable Disney pins. As you see, they're kind of pins that just inherently retain high values. Like, they're really nice, you know, cast member exclusive pins are the ones from the Studio Store Hollywood. But then there's also some surprises, like kind of recent park releases or like open edition pins from other parks. So I'd love to know, what is the most valuable pin that you currently have in your Disney pin collection, and whether you would pay this amount to get a pin that you really wanted to have. Now, no promises necessarily on an update to this video, but we'll see where things are like in a year from now. But thanks for watching.